One of the basic keto recipes that you need to know is fathead dough. Fathead dough can be used to make anything from pizzas, to cinnamon rolls, to corn dogs, Pop-Tarts, whatever you can think up, you can use fathead dough for. But there's several problems with the old fathead dough recipes. Some people have said they're too greasy. Some have said they're too sticky. Some people can't have almond flour. Some people are allergic to coconut flour. So I wanted to make a brand new high protein fathead dough that would work great for all these applications. It's also gluten-free, but it's a great high protein addition if you love pizza or any of the other things that I mentioned. So chuck that old fathead dough recipe out the window and get ready for a brand new next generation fathead dough version 2.0. That rhymes. Stick around. This fathead dough is going to have a few more ingredients than the old one, but those ingredients help solve a lot of the problems and a lot of the complaints that I've heard from other people and complaints that I've had myself when I've made fathead pizzas and things with fathead dough. So let's get right into it and make fathead dough version 2.0. So the first ingredient you're going to need for this fathead dough is some of this low moisture part skim mozzarella cheese. Now make sure you don't get the fresh mozzarella. It's not going to work. It needs to say low moisture part skim. This is what you need. I got this one at Aldi, but hey, whatever brand you like. Now I'm just going to grate up 1.5 cups of this. In order for this to turn out right, make sure you get fresh cheese. Don't get any of that bag stuff because there may be some ingredients in there that might prevent it from working right in this recipe. So just get your own. It's going to be cheaper for you anyway, so just go ahead and take the little bit extra time to grate it. And I'll just measure out my 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese right into this glass bowl because we're going to be microwaving this. And Old Yeller said that not only does it only want to be used for dessert videos, it's also not going in the microwave anymore. So there we go. So there's a cup and there's another 1/2 cup, and I'll save this for the pizza. Oh yeah, we're making pizza with this. And to that I'm going to add 2 ounces of cream cheese. Now I've seen other videos that have said you don't need the cream cheese in there. You absolutely do for the texture of this. So don't leave that out. So now that this is ready to go in the microwave, we'll put together all our dry ingredients, and I'm going to use Old Yeller for that no matter what it says. So to replace the almond flour and things that people just don't like in there, I'm using this Isopure zero carb protein. This is the unflavored. And I'll leave links to everything I use down below, but the main thing to look out for if you're not using this brand is make sure it's 100% whey protein isolate. That's very important for baking. And we'll start out with 3/4 cup of that. Next, I'm using a teaspoon of this psyllium husk powder. This is the same thing that goes in my keto bread. I'm just using a teaspoon here. And then you know I love this beef gelatin if you've seen any of my other recipes. I'm going in with 1/4 teaspoon of that. And listen, this makes a lot of difference in the chew, believe it or not. But if you don't have it, you can leave it out. It just ain't gonna be as good. I'm going in with 1 teaspoon of regular old baking powder. 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And now, this is only if you're making the pizza crust. Don't go putting this Italian seasoning in. If you're making cinnamon rolls, I don't think you're gonna like the results. And 1/4 teaspoon, or 2/8 of salt. I'm just gonna give this a good mix and get this all incorporated. And you can use your fancy whisk too if you want to, just to get everything well combined in here. Old Yeller's hating this. While I'm at it, and some people just like to mix this in to the cheese, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this egg beaten up. Man, that shell really wants to go in there too. But I'm gonna say no on that one. So I'm just gonna beat this egg up and have it ready to go. So as soon as everything else is done, this is ready to go in the mix. So I'm gonna take this mozzarella cheese and cream cheese. I'm gonna throw it in the microwave for 30 seconds. I'm gonna stir it up and we'll see what it looks like. So after 30 seconds in the microwave, this is what it looks like. So it's just starting to come together. You just want to give it a nice little combining here like this. Stir it up real good, and I'm gonna throw it back in there for another 30 seconds. After another 30 seconds, this is what it looks like. And you can see it's starting to come together, but we're not quite there yet. We want it completely melted. We want it to be a nice consistency and like a pool. A little bit more liquidy than this. So I'm gonna put it in for another 30 seconds, and that should be just right. And here we are. So this is 1.5 minutes total. And this is exactly what you want. It's nice and thin here. It's gonna pull away just like that. And now I'm going in with about a tablespoon of Greek yogurt. And hey, don't tell anybody about that. They'll all be wanting to do this. And if they do, how are you gonna tell them my fathead's better than your fathead? I mean, it could be an entire battle. Give that a nice stir. And my egg. Now you can put the egg in there whole if you want to, but I just find it's a lot easier to combine like this. So just give it a good stir like that till it's all combined together. If this ends up cooling too much and gets hard to work with, just pop it in the microwave again. If I don't throw everything everywhere, I'm just gonna put all the dry ingredients right in and give it a good mix to incorporate it. So just kind of work it in like that so you got it all well combined. There's always the old hand method. And there may be a little bit of dry left over, so you can use slightly less if you want to. To begin with, maybe a little less than 3/4 cup. And just add a little bit in as you work this dough. But you can see if you pull it apart there, that part needs to absorb up a little bit of moisture. So we'll just pull it and knead it. You don't want to overwork this, but you want to make sure all that powder, or as much as possible, gets in here. Now I'm just going to dump it out right onto my board there. Pour the rest of the dry ingredients right on top, or as much as possible. You're probably going to have a little bit left over, so you can start with less if you want to, like I said. But just knead this. If you come to a wet part, just use that to sop up some of that dry. If you want to see more Keto Basics recipes kicked up to the next level, make sure you give me a like on this video and hit the subscribe button right down there. Click the bell next to it, and anytime I do a new keto video, you'll know all about it. You want to feel a little bit light and airy like that? You also don't want to overwork this dough. Just work it until it gets into a nice little ball like this. And you can store it in the fridge just like that if you want to. If you're making like a sweet dish with this, like I may or may not be doing, if you store them in the fridge, just take a piece of plastic wrap like that and just kind of loosely wrap it. You don't want to make it real tight, but you also don't want a ton of air getting in there. So I'll just kind of do it like that, throw it in a bowl, and put it in the fridge. Or if you're gonna make a pizza, I'll show you how to do it. Just take this dough, put it right down on one sheet of parchment paper. I'm gonna take another sheet of parchment paper and put it right on top. And as you can see, I have used this parchment paper before. You can reuse it quite a few times. I'm just gonna start rolling it out like this. And you know, there's little tricks of this parchment paper, like you can put a wet paper towel up under one of them to, you know, keep it from sliding around on you. You've even got fancy little rolling pins that'll make it the exact same size all the way through. But you know, I like to do it the hard way. So just roll this out, get it as nice and circular as you can. And then the easiest way to do this is take your pizza pan, put it on here, give it a good flip. You should be able to pull the top off pretty easily. If it's still a little bit wet, add just a little bit more of your flour to it. And I'll make a nice little circular shape out of it. I'm gonna go in the oven with this for 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, I'm gonna flip it over and do another 3 on the other side, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like when I get done. So this is how the crust comes out after its initial bake. And now let's put all the toppings on it to make the pizza. And depending on ingredients, it could come out a little bit dry. If you think it's too dry for your taste, just brush it all over with some butter. That'll soak right in and solve the whole problem. So I just made a triple batch of my pizza sauce, and I'll link that video down in the description and up here somewhere if you haven't seen it. But I'll just take a ladle full of that, put it right in the middle, and then spread it all the way out to the edges. You don't want too much sauce, just enough to cover it with a thin layer. You just want a nice thin base for your toppings. And then I'm just gonna load it up with some of this mozzarella cheese. And then just a little sprinkle of Parmesan right on top. And that is a nice high protein pizza ready to go in the oven. So after 8 minutes on 400 degrees, this is what it looks like. You could put more cheese on top if you want to, but since the whole crust is basically made of cheese, I think this is probably a good amount here. Top it with a little bit of fresh basil or some red pepper flakes or whatever you like on your pizza. One of the biggest complaints when people talk about fathead dough is how floppy that crust is. So was I able to fix that problem? Let's find out. So look at that, no floppy fathead dough. I mean, that looks about as perfect as you can get from a keto pizza, right? But how does it taste? Absolutely delicious. If you want to see more videos about how to make keto basics, make sure you check out this playlist right here.